Hello ladies, today I'm going to talk about 20 mistakes that Kenyans make when they are building their house. You may be looking at building your own home. You may have put some funds aside, bought some piece of land and thinking about building. Before you do, watch this video and up to the last moment because it is going to help you avoid a lot of mistakes, reduce on cost and have a much better building that is comfortable and wonderful for your use. The first thing is poor designs. A lot of Kenyans build homes by looking at other people's homes. You go and say, you go with your builder and say, I want such a house. I want this house that you built. Sometimes they ask, which houses have you built? I built this and this and this. I want you to build this for me. You don't even look at the usability of that house. You don't look at the spaces that house has. In fact, a lot of people cannot even tell you how much house they are actually building, how much house they actually need. They do not even measure a bigness of a house based on it is square meters this much or square feet this much. They only measure in terms of big, small, double story, single story, bungalow or maisonette. They do not know specifically what kind of house that they want. They do not look at the design. I want to challenge you to look at many designs because there are so many designs and sometimes even look beyond the Kenyan space. Get an architect, start looking at design, start looking at design ideas, start looking at certain YouTube videos that talk about design, and you will be surprised at how many designs are out there that are actually going to deliver a home that you will love. Because the idea is not just to have a home, but having a home that you will love. There is nothing as bad and spending a fortune on a home and then realizing, oh, I don't like this house. I don't like where the stairs are. I don't like how funny the rooms look. I don't like how dark this house is. Please research on your design and be even able to think about so many other things. Discuss, comprehend which type of a house, how big is it, where are the windows, all these things. Talk about design intently. As much as you take the time to look for money and for funds, look for the time to look at the design, because design might be the difference between liking a home and not liking a home completely. Have you ever gone to a house? It is big, but it is ugly. Have you ever gone to a home? It is big, it has functional facilities and has many other things that look nice, but you're thinking, maybe it could have looked better like this. Don't be that person after putting a lot of money into this home. The second thing is no cost estimations. Kenyans don't make cost estimates. They have ambitious estimates. So somebody told you that I build a house for 2 million shillings, but you don't ask several questions. Where is the house located? Which materials do they use? How big or not big a house is? Is the costs because they used a private builder who did they outsource everything, or did they stand in the construction site and looked at things? Because a house that is built by an architect and managed professionally will cost a lot more than a house that is you sit there and look at the constructor's building. Sometimes it is not actually true. Sometimes you do the actual physical checking and constructing and use fundis, but a lot of the money is wasted because of idle time, because of poor planning and things like that. So the cost might actually be more if you are sitting down and looking and supervising your own construction. So the cost may differ significantly. So ensure that you have a legitimate and a wonderful cost estimation. Look for a surveyor, quantity surveyor, to tell you how many rocks, how many this do you need, so that when you are sourcing for purchase of supplies, you can be able to say, I want this number of stones, I want this number of bags of cement, I want this, because you know the quantities, so that you can be able to get the price and be able to get several quotes. Because the several quotes will be the difference between buying double some items and be able to reduce your cost significantly on other items. So do your homework, do the cost estimation to the end. In fact, if you're not comfortable leaving your house midway, ensure that you have done your cost estimation to the end and you have all the finances there. Don't be as a Kenyan and be ambitious and think, as I build, I might actually fall onto some money. You might fall onto some money. That is terrible. planning. So ensure that your cost estimates are specific, they are measurable, they are quantified. They even have timelines. After 3 weeks, I need this. After 3, I need this. Because of cash flow purposes. Because sometimes you might be liquidating some other assets to look for funds to build your house in the next phase. So when you have that, you will never run out of time. And because you have estimated your cost significantly, you will never have to halt construction, because certain phases of construction when installed can actually cost you money. For example, if you're putting your roof terraces and the timbers are up but you cannot get the roof, and it is for longer, and it is exposed to the elements of sun and rain, some of these timbers will warp. They will no longer be as straight. It is going to cost you more money to replace these wooden trusses. So you don't want your house being stuck at that level of construction. So estimate your cost from the start. The next thing is changing designs midway. When you change a design midway, it means 1, the workers have stopped working. 2, whatever you have already built, you destroy. 3, any wiring that you have been able to do or piping in that specific area has to be changed. And sometimes even approvals have to be sought, because when you change designs midway, a lot of costs are actually incurred. In fact, it is estimated that every design change, if significant, can be able to increase your costs upwards of 15% or more. So don't change designs midway. That is why I talked about the first thing, design. Do your homework on design so that you don't change things midway as you think, oh, this will not work, and they have already started building. Don't be the person who is going to incur unnecessary costs because of your poor design choices. The other thing that you need to do is don't build a house in a certain way if you do not understand 1, the orientation of the sun, 2, the orientation of the wind. A lot of Kenyans just build homes. You just build a house. You don't look at where the sun comes from, where the wind comes from. I will give you a case in point. Somebody who was building a house in Kikuyu, and they went to build their house and just built what they thought was important or necessary. So they did not consider or ask the neighbors, where does the wind come from? Remember, Kikuyu is a little bit colder than the general Nairobi area. And a lot of this cold is because of wind chill, when wind seeps into the building. So if you place a majority of your windows on the path of this wind is going to seep into your building, making your house cold, your floors cold, and it is going to be a lot more uncomfortable. Just by changing where the house looks at, not even changing the design, where the windows are looking and where the doors are, you could have saved yourself the bitter cold in the house. Just because you do not look at the orientation of the sun, it might mean that a lot of sun is entering your house and waking people a lot earlier than you desire. If you orientate your house more towards the west, you might get a lot of sunlight in the end of the day, and it might mean between a warm house and a cold house. And if you desire for a colder house, you do not want all your windows facing where the sun is coming to set. So how you design and put your house should be determined by the position and orientation of the sun, the position and the orientation of where the wind comes from and where it goes to. Put your windows looking at where the wind is coming from. But however, if your desire is to get an aerated house and a cooler house based on the climate of where you're building, then maybe put the windows towards where the wind is coming from. But make sure that you build your house considering these 2 things, because you can never change nature. You can always change how your building looks, where it looks, where majority of the windows and the doors are. You can always change, but you can never change where the east is. You can never change where the wind comes from. So plan accordingly. The other thing that a lot of people do not do, they do not consider insulation and moisture barriers. In fact, I'm sure majority of people who are watching this video do not even know what these 2 things are. Moisture barrier is what determines whether your house starts seeping water from the ground. If your house starts changing color near the level of the floors because water is being absorbed and moving up the building. But having a polythene paper or a moisture barrier that is made with hard rubber might be the difference between seeing your building having mold and not having mold. Seeing your building paint coming off or not coming off, a moisture barrier. Then insulation is what you put in your building, either between walls, on the side of the wall, inside or outside, on the roofs, on the floor before you put your tiles, to determine that your house, your tiles don't get a lot colder than you desire, that your building does not get much hotter than you desire, that your roof, if it is a metallic roof, does not radiate too much heat into the building, becoming uncomfortable. Re-insulation, it is a simple thing. A lot of Kenyans don't plan for it, and a lot of fundis don't know about it, but it could be the difference between reducing your cooling and heating costs for your home. It could be the difference between having a comfortable and an uncomfortable home. It could be the difference between having cold and warm tiles. So do your homework, my friends. Don't just build a house. Put no insulation or moisture barriers and assume that everything is going to work out. It might cost a little bit more, but the comfort and the savings that you're going to incur are going to outweigh all these things. A lot of people build big homes, but they don't put these things. So the question is not whether money is the issue. The question is, how practical is your building, and the comfort of living in that house, how is it going to be? Then the other thing is the type of windows, the mirrors, and the window sizes. If you're going to build a home, you want the house to be lighted up. You don't want to incur additional lighting during the day. Then build big windows. They don't have to be unnecessarily big. They just have to be orientated in the right direction. If you're going to have to put windows, do not put these one-way mirrors, because it could be the difference between being woken up by birds early in the day, knocking at your window because they are fighting their own reflections. So if that is not what you desire, just put the normal window panes. Don't just go for the fancy one-way mirrors and not understand that they're going to be impact with one life and your mirrors. A lot of birds are going to die from your windows because they will be flying through the windows. A lot of birds will be waking you up because they will be knocking at your windows, fighting their own reflections. A lot of people don't plan for this. A lot of people just build normal windows. Your fundi tells you the normal size of this house window is like this. Who told you? Windows are one of the ways that you can play around with so many factors to change so many factors in your construction, from how much light you have, to how airy your house looks, to how open your house looks, to even the way you put and orientate your sitting room, kitchen, and the flexibility therein, to how you are going to be safe. Because if, for example, staircases are poorly lit, then they're going to be dangerous because people are not going to be seeing where they are going. So have you planned for a window where the staircases are? People don't plan for these things. Another thing that Kenyans don't do, but they are crazy simple things that you could actually do, that could be able to help you. One, with your lighting for your stairs and house, and the amount of air conditioning that you will need. These are called air wells or light wells. Light wells are windows that are supposedly put on the top, on the roofs, and bring light down to a house, and some of them can be able to be opened to be able to help hot air escape the building, making your house even more comfortable. But a lot of people don't talk about this or plan about this. It could be the difference between a beautiful home, the same design, but just one has a lot more windows and has a light wells and things like that make it a lot more comfortable. In fact, people who have light wells and opening ones can be able to have a much cooler house, by as cooler than others in the same house, the same area, by 5 degrees or more. Just imagine the comfort that you're talking about when, one, you're comparing between a house that is 30 degrees during the day and 25 degrees. That 5-degree difference could make a lot of difference in terms of comfort. And all these things are windows. Are you planning your windows to have one window at the end, another one at the end, so that you can have a cross breeze? So window air comes from one day and goes to the other end and cools in everything in between. Or are you just putting windows haphazardly? Pop, pop, pop. Pale panahitaji dirisha. There should be a window. Then you start regretting because you don't have enough light, you cannot cool the houses. It is not even practical. Windows are very important. The other thing that is related to windows that people don't talk about is having something on top of the window to be able to keep direct sun during the very hot midday sun from entering the house. So you are able to effectively reduce the amount of heat that is coming through the window because you have like a small shade, just a small one, in the places that are affected by most midday sun. But a lot of people don't plan for these things. In fact, there are so many houses that have gone to, in fact, more than 90% of the homes do not have a small shade in the windows, especially the big windows and the windows that have more orientation towards noonday sun, and therefore incur a lot more in terms of heat during the day. So windows can be an important thing, but you have to look at them strategically. Don't just put them as an afterthought like most Kenyans do. Then the other thing that we need to talk about is the ceiling plans, because a lot of people are putting some funny things. In fact, who told you that you have to incur cost when it comes to ceiling? You don't have to. Who told you that you have to put some of these boards that are made of glued in dusts that are always bringing a lot of dust and fibers into the air, making children cough all the time? You are looking for beauty, but then you got a lot of coughing and a lot of chest issues. A lot of these things are actually made of hazardous materials. You can be able to plan effectively and be able to build a very simple ceiling. But a lot of people have no plans to a ceiling. In fact, they put a ceiling because everyone is putting. In fact, I remember going to seeing a house that was made and had these fancy ceilings that people are making with lights and all this. But for me, it was not beautiful. And it costed a lot of money. So consider the ceilings that you make, because a lot of people make mistakes from the ceilings that they make. They either incur a lot of costs, get ugly looking things. Some are even dangerous because of all these designs that are put, but they have no structural support. Some of them actually fall down. But a lot of people do not make plans for having ceilings that make sense and end up incurring a lot of costs, having things that are actually dangerous, releasing a lot of toxins in the air, and a lot of things that are causing coughs for children and such things. So plan effectively for your ceilings, because a lot of people make mistakes when it comes to ceilings. The other thing that people make a big mistake about is you have bought a piece of land, 50 by 100, a quarter acre and all these things. You build a big house. Then you have a small garden. You just look like a concrete jungle. Nothing fancy. There is nothing fancy about a big house with no green spaces. There's nothing fancy about a big house with a lot of concrete. Because of two reasons that I speak about. One thing is green spaces actually make your house look like a heaven, look like a cool spot. Have you ever gone and walked in the woods and come out refreshed? Have you ever walked somewhere in a green space and come out stress-free? It has been noted by research that green, the color green, and seeing a lot of green actually re-energizes and refreshes a lot of people and our minds. But you have a lot of concrete. So you leave your concrete jungle in your workplace, and then you come to your concrete jungle in your home, and you have no place to be able to escape from the stress and anxiety of day-to-day living. No green spaces, big house that occupies the whole land. Let me give you a challenge. Why don't you build your house on less than 50% of the land and use less than 10% of the land on driveways and leave the rest for grass, kitchen gardens and trees? You will have a lot beautiful house. In fact, build up so that you have a lot more space for all these things. A lot of people build big, horizontal, and have no space for green space. Your children can't even play in your house. It is no longer functional because you may have a beautiful house, but you also enjoy the outdoor space. So make space for outdoor space. A lot of Kenyans don't do these things. This is the general provision. Have less than 50% of that land having real buildings. Less than 5%, 5 to 10% on driveways. Then the rest leave for green spaces. 50% of more or more for green spaces, and you will enjoy your space, your house, in and out. Don't just plan for in and leave out, because you are going to host friends, you're going to host family, but where are they going to enjoy this other space when there are too many people in the house? Make your house livable outside and inside. A lot of people don't do that. Then the other thing people do is have big driveways with lots of concrete. The average home has 1.75 cars, and that is the average big residential home. The average low-end home has only one car. Why are you building a driveway for 3 cars? Doesn't make sense. If your friends come, let them park outside. It's only temporary. At most, you can be able to squeeze 2 cars when they're having people sleep over, and that's it. Anything excess, let them stay outside. Because when you create spaces for these cars, you're going to have more concrete outside. And remember the last point, you're going to have less green spaces. Now, green spaces also do an additional thing. They help cool down the environment of your house. This is because they create a bigger surface area for water in the soil to be able to evaporate up in the land, taking excess heat from the air and cooling the surrounding of your buildings. Have you ever gone to a green space and suddenly it cools down? Have you ever asked yourself why? This is because of the concrete city heat island effect. And most architects will be able to tell you about it. If you have too much concrete has a way of absorbing a lot of heat and keeping it. That's why concrete homes becomes always warm compared to, say, corrugated roof sheet homes, because corrugated roof sheet homes receive heat fast, but they release faster. Concrete homes receive heat and retain it. So if you're going to have too much concrete around you, your house is going to be hotter than the surrounding areas. So don't let your house be an oven, my friends. Allow your home to be able to cool itself. Not only will it look cool with the green spaces, but it will feel even cooler. Hope you're learning and you're growing. Then the next thing that people don't talk about is tiles and flooring. People don't talk about tiles and flooring, and they don't plan for tiles and flooring. And remember, I talked about insulation. A lot of people don't put insulation under the tiles. Insulation can be the difference between having floors that are 5 degrees colder than other floors. 5 degrees. 5 degrees can be the difference between being able to walk barefoot and having to wear socks and woolen shoes and all these things in the house. It can be the difference between persistent colds for your children and having a comfortable home for the same children. So consider what you consider as tiling. You do not have to do. A lot of Kenyans make the same mistake. They put tiles. If there's something that I do not like, is tiles. Why? Tiles have one problem in Kenya. If you get one design of tiles, the possibility of you getting the same design 2 months later is hard, because we import most of our tiles. And if you have to repair a tile that has broken, then you have to go to the shop and get the exact tile. It will not look the same. In fact, the tiles may be actually a lot more faded than the one that you bring. So any repair, anyone can be able to see a repair from a mile away. You will not be able to get quality tiles that are going to last for a long time. Majority of them are too expensive, the ones that will be able to last, and you will not be able to replace them because you will not get the same design when you actually do replace them. Then the other problem is, majority of people who put tiles in Kenya are quacks. Just because you are a brick mason doesn't make you a tile person. But because Kenyans don't make a difference, there are no qualification for these things, the percentage of you getting a terrible job at tiles is almost 50% or more. 50% of the people who are doing these things are actually quacks. And because people put tiles because they have been put and they have seen their friends do it, they do not question whether there are other possibility of things that you can be able to bring. There's something called laminate floors. Laminate floors are a lot warmer. They are a lot easier to replace because the general tile designs do not change as much. Then you can be able to actually get somebody to do it, and even you yourself can be able to do it without too much effort. There's a lot of more options in terms of tile. There's a lot of more things that can be able to do, but ensure that you choose tiles that actually work for you. Do not pick them because it is what everyone is doing, because that is the general mistake people do. Then you pick somebody who is a quack to put them, then you have to either think about removing them or replacing them, or they are constantly cracking. In fact, there is a time I went to an office building that had used professionals to build this house, but tiles were breaking. In fact, you could see like 10 tiles breaking, and the general consensus was they are actually breaking. We are going to wait for them to break many enough of them to be able to replace all of them at the same time, because if we replace 2, we're going to find 10 that are going to break in the next month. So that testifies of the shoddy operations of tiles. So think about it. You don't have to do tiles. You can do laminate floors or wooden floors that can be able to be replaced without any hassles or without issues. In fact, I've even met somebody who has put the block boards, and put them on the floors, and being able to furnish and be able to make them smooth and paint a good coat of wood varnish to make them look like hardwood floors. There's so many possibilities, but don't think like the average Kenyan that tiles is the way to heaven or to a beautiful home. Then forget the many options that you could have and have a troublesome living with these tiles. The other thing is chimneys and fireplaces. I meet a lot of people who have chimneys, but majority of people build chimneys for their beauty, not for their practical living. Yes, majority of people do not put a fireplace for practical living. You put it there, and then the walls surrounding it have all this black ash. Who told you that these days people build chimneys and then they place wooden stoves? You can be able to find them now in Kenya. They are actually available. It might cost a lot more money, but they are going to be the difference between having an ash-filled house or ash falling on the ground or wood everywhere and anywhere, and are going to seal your chimney, because a lot of people heat homes, but all this heat just disappears up. You need something that can be able to dissipate this heat across the building so that the efficiency of the wood heating is a lot more, because a lot of heat remains in the house as opposed to escaping. Then the other problem is the draft of wind that comes down the chimney. A lot of people don't plan for these things. Simple mistakes. You want to heat your house, but you're cooling it. Problems with the chimneys and fireplaces. A lot of people don't prepare for them. It is a simple fix, but a lot of people do not plan for them. You just build because people build, but it is not going to serve you the way you desire. So if you're going to have a chimney, ensure that you have a wooden stove that is fitted to it. Ensure that you clean the chimney. Ensure that you do not have ash and all these ugly things floating around. But a lot of Kenyans make these mistakes. If you don't have to build a fireplace, don't. It's not necessary. In fact, trying to maintain and all these things in a hot place is not going to make any financial sense. Of course, the other problem is there is no landscaping. Kenyans don't plan on landscaping. You just have they think about the indoor space, they do not think about the outdoor space. So you throw things around and plant things around and hope that something works. Have a plan for your landscaping. In fact, have a budget for your landscaping. This is house construction budget, finishing painting, and this is landscaping. Because again, a beautiful landscape is going to be the difference between having an eyesore and a beautiful place to look at. In fact, it has been noted that homeowners actually have more in terms of being told that your house looks beautiful because of the landscaping. Houses may look similar, but landscape will most likely not. So ensure that yours looks more beautiful than the average one. Then the other thing is ugly kitchens. I don't understand Kenyans with ugly kitchens. Why are you going to spend money on a big kitchen that looks ugly? Why do Kenyans have to have these movable gas stoves? Why? And building one that is a kitchen top that is built with the construction is not necessarily more expensive. Why do Kenyans have to have fridges that are not covered or built within the wall or the cabinets of the house? It is not magic to do these things. But why do Kenyans have to have ugly fridges next to expensive constructions then have gas stoves that are separate and some gas cylinder that is hanging around. Really? Poor designs. Poor designs. And then pipes that are hanging everywhere. Green pipes that are hanging everywhere. Please build beautiful. It just takes careful planning. You may spend a lot of money on a kitchen, but remember, if people are going to come and see your house, the women are going to come to your kitchen. Do not try to always feel shy to show your kitchen. Do not always look for compliments for your sitting room and then hide away in people looking at your kitchen. A lot of people make the mistake of not planning for their kitchen and having built-in things. Built-in things are not difficult to do, my friends. They are not. It could be the difference between cutting a kitchen top and putting a gas knob or an electric cooker, as opposed to having some ugly thing looking there at the side, so that you have a clean space, a clean surface to be able to work with. It is a difference of simple things. Cost a little money, but the value that you get from it is a lot. But Kenyans don't think about this thing. So next time you are building a house, consider your kitchen and having your items built in. They will look more beautiful, the house value is going to go up, and you're going to enjoy the utility of your kitchen spaces. Then the other thing is, Kenyans don't have window sills and door sills. The difference between having dust in your home or having heat or cold in your home, when you have everything covered, is dust, is window and door sills. These are some of the rubbers that are put on the lining of the windows and the doors, so that where the metal or the wood is coming together, they create a seal. This seal prevents moisture from entering, prevents dust from entering, prevents cold from entering, but majority of Kenyan homes don't have these things. In fact, majority of people don't know these things. A window sill can be as cheap as 1,000 shillings, but it's going to save you money. It's going to save you cost in terms of how much you need to clean your house. Then you do the Kenyan thing of building a big home that is accumulating a lot of dust, and the only way you can be able to save yourself from the additional hassle is something that is worth 1,000 shillings. Kenyans don't put these things. Friends, put these things. Save yourself on cost. Have less wind and less dust in your homes and a much more comfortable space. It's a simple thing that anyone with an existing building can fit, but you can be able to fit even better gadgets of the same way you are putting up your house. You don't even have to have a fancy door. You just have to plan for it. Then build a door around your home that is going to keep moisture and dust away. Don't have houses that have gaps like this. Build a door that comes and flips and closes like this. It closes like this rather than closing like this. This gap is the difference between moisture and dust in your home, and heat retention or cold retention in your home. So plan for these things. Seal your homes and have a much more comfortable space. The other thing, because today is going to be a long video, because I'm going to speak about 20 items. The other thing is, there are no air circulation air vents. Kenyans don't have air circulation air vents. They just have holes above the windows. Holes that are going to lose all your heat, bring in all the cold, and they do not have vents that you can be able to switch on and get air circulating outside the building. In fact, if you're living in a dusty area, you don't need to have dust in your homes. You want the fresh air, but you want to filter out all the dust. An air vent works. And these things are not expensive. They could be between 5,000 to 10,000. Then keep one in your kitchen, because you have a lot of smokes that are coming from your kitchen, so that you're able to escape all this smoke and you're able to bring in fresh air. Have one in your bathroom so that you do not have humidity and mold in your bathroom. Have one in the bedrooms or in the kitchen. Simple things, my friend. When you are building a house, put 1 or 2 or 3 of these, and you could have a comfortable space, dust-free, fresh air, comfortable space. But Kenyans just build and put holes. Don't put a hole in your home, my friends. Don't put a hole in your home. Build something that is functional, that you can keep the dust out and keep the warmth in, keep the pathogens out, and bring fresh air in. Simple, functional things. Research about air vents. These things are cheap, but Kenyans don't put them or plan for them. In fact, have you ever gone to fancy hotels and have something when you're showering, something comes on and works automatically and you hear vroom? That is an air vent. Hotels know these things are practical and usable. Why don't you put them in your house? Simple things, but Kenyans don't use this thing. The other problem that people don't do is future-proofing their home. If you're going to build a mansionette, remember, if you get old and plan to live in that house, you may not be able to go up the stairs. So build a separate room or build a room outside the house, somewhere where an aging person who cannot be able to climb up the stairs can sleep within the ground floor. And they can be able to use all these spaces and close off the rest of the house. Future-proofing your house. A lot of Kenyans don't future-proof their house because they assume that they are going to always be able to walk up the stairs. I've met a lot of people who have converted their sitting rooms to bedrooms because they cannot be able to climb the stairs, so they are using the space that is available to them. So ensure that your house is future-proofed. You have a toilet downstairs, you have a bathroom downstairs. It could be as simple as having a servant quarter that is downstairs that can be converted into an old person's home or an old person's sleeping area. Simple. Future-proof your house and use it even in the near future. If you're building a house for your parents, ensure there is such a space that they can be able to use if they get too old to go up the stairs. Simple things. Then the other thing is Kenyans don't use empty spaces. Have you ever gone to a Kenyan house that has some awkward empty space and you're thinking there could be something that could be put here, there's a space that could be put here? Could be as simple as arranging the furniture to be able to make use of that space. It could be as simple as having an additional toilet under the staircases. It could be as simple as having a bookshelf somewhere that could be able to create some interest instead of having some empty, or a children's play area where there are toys and where they can be able to do a lot of their creative things. Simple things. Make use of wasted spaces. In fact, before you build a home, ensure that your home has very little in the way of wasted spaces. Don't put money in construction, in all these things, a space that will not be used. So ensure that you plan for every space and every space becomes usable. One of the spaces that Kenyans waste a lot, and it's even painful, is the attic or the space at the roof. So you have these roofs that look like this, but all this space above the ceiling is useless space. So you're incurring all this cost in terms of roofs and wooden trusses, a lot of money, but you're not using this space. Why don't you make some additional rooms in that attic, then have a pop-out window on the roof? Simple things. Or just build a flat roof, because then you're not wasting any of that space. But people are not making use of these things. Simple things that Kenyans don't think about, that could be the difference between wasted space, incurred additional expenses, and being able to use all the house for the buck that you have invested in. The other problem is the same construction method. There are so many construction methods out there. Some that have been in existence for a long time. Some that are actually more efficient and less costly than what we are used to. But if all that you know is Darugo machine cut stones, all that you know is cement houses, if all that you know is how your neighbor's house looks like, then all that you will incur is the same additional cost, the same design problems, the same work, construction experts, the same problems. So think beyond. Think beyond. A lot of Kenyans could save a lot of money if they thought of alternative construction methods. There are so many alternative construction methods, even in Kenya now, that can be able to cut down on the construction time, cut down on the construction space that is needed. Because why do you need a wall that looks like this when you could have a wall that is the same size? Saving on this space, unnecessary wastage of space. So many things that you could be able to do if you open up your mind. So open up your mind so that you can be open to the possibilities of new construction methods. The other problem that Kenyans do is they do not seek advance approvals. Please seek advance approvals. You do not want your building halted All the time you're rescuing fundis from being arrested. All the time people are coming to ask for bribes. All the time you have this and this problem. And after you have built your house, they come and put an X. My friends, just seek approval in the end. It's a lot more money, but the money that it will save you from all these hassles and bribes and all these things is a lot more money. Seek approvals beforehand, and you could be able to simplify a lot of your process, and even the construction time will be definite, the costs will be definite, and you'll be able to build your house to the latter without any interruptions. Reduce on anything that you cannot be able to change. So if you cannot be able to change on whether your people are going to be arrested because of lack of approval, so plan ahead of it and nip it in the bud before it becomes an issue. You may not be able to change a lot of things in terms of weather and all these things, but the ones that you can, do change it. And approvals is one of the things that can be too difficult if not handled effectively at the right time, in the right space, and before you start your construction. I hope that you're learning, you're growing, and becoming better in your financial affairs. I hope that I have been helpful to you. Remember to leave a comment in the comment section, to like this video, and keep on watching, because I'll be having more construction items and more housing items and more financing things to help you grow in your finances. Thank you, and enjoy your